fix this and fix this. Because I had my phone on the table when I was transplanting today. It's a video tomorrow. How's everybody doing this wonderful Sunday? All right, let me just pop out my chat. And I'll give everybody a chance to come in before I start yelling, hello, everybody. You know what I mean? So glad spring's right around the corner. I mean, we're still under like 2 feet of snow, but the trees are tapped and the snow melts a little every day. It was cold today. But hey, Seashell, how you doing, sweetheart? So, oh, yeah. You want me to shout out your name? Make sure you say hi in the chat so that when I get to the participants, because it's participants, if you don't say hi, your name doesn't show up on the participants list. So I transplanted some tomatoes and cabbages today, and it was really past due, but I ran out of dirt. And Howie said, well, now someone asked me once, why did I see Wendy? Someone asked me once, why don't you just bring dirt in the fall? Because it's full of bugs and stuff, right? So he said, Howie said, well, I can get you some dirt out of the greenhouse. The ground's not frozen in the greenhouse. And I said, no. I said, bring bugs in the house. You know what I mean? So anyway, I have to wait until Friday to do more transplanting because there's much, much more to be transplanted. And I'll tell you, my dining room looks like a spaceship for plants. You know what I mean? So that's tomorrow's video on our half-acre homestead, is me transplanting and then showing you what I've done. Having the smaller light cage, even though I had to use duct tape to make it smaller, having the smaller cage makes it easier for me to assemble lights, especially since I have the clamp lights, which are the ones that I can put closest to the plants, and then everything else is over top, and it gives it a better depth of light and stuff, right? So, all right, we're at 39 people. So let me pop out the participants and say, hey, Natalie, Barbara M, Shell, my love, Deborah C, hi, Becky, Hope Britton, International Cat, Jane Fitton, Leona 1959, Linda Bop, say hi to your hubby, Matt, Pam, Rosie Slade, Rubu, Sharon Attic, Sherry Leach, and it's not letting me scroll down any farther, and Willow's Garden. How's it going, everybody? Okay, there, my chat is back. Oh, I didn't know I could do it that easy. So anyway, aloha, everybody. Hi, Marie Dunn. Anybody I missed? Katrina Babe, Lynn Smith. So, Matt said hi back at you. Lori from Vermont. So anyway, yeah, we had a really relaxing day yesterday. I got, some things done. Wow, has my pantry ever taken a beating this winter? I'm telling you, I'm down to my last 4 jars of 4 quarts of potatoes. I had no idea I would use them so much. Next year, I'm canning and dehydrating 100 pounds of potatoes. This year, I should say. This fall, I'm going to can and dehydrate
100
not dehydrate, but this year I'm going to freeze and maybe dehydrate some, because 30 pounds of onions did not do. I'm going to need 60. And I'm going to need at least 10 1-gallon bags of peppers. I'm now understanding what it takes for us to actually, because we've been really, yes, we do a few groceries like once, twice a month, to start milk, apples, bananas, basics, milk, apples, bananas, eggs, right? Haven't been really buying anything except the basics, right? Decluttering my everyday pantry and making jelly today. I started realigning all my filled jars in the pantry, and I'm gonna be canning some more meat soon too. So, but this winter, because normally in the past, I'd be going to Costco once a month. It's nice to know you don't have to, but I would still go to Costco in like November and December, right? And in February and January, if I had the opportunity and the funds. This year we lived out of the pantry for the most part. And I'm telling you, that it took a beating. It took a beating. So now I know if we want to live out of our pantry through the winter, right? I'm going to have to can twice as much potatoes. I'm going to have to freeze twice as much peppers, twice as much onions. The celery is holding out beautiful, the canned celery and the dehydrated celery, but I'm down to half a quart of dehydrated carrots, and I'm making soup tomorrow. So I've also thought about this. All the vegetable broths that I have canned, I don't make that much soup in the summertime. I'm thinking of using a quart of broth as the liquid for my bread, a quart of vegetable broth as the liquid for my bread, right? I wouldn't do it with meat broth, but I would absolutely do it with vegetable broth. So these are things I'm thinking of, right? It's like, what am I going to do with all this broth? I'm not going to make vegetable broth and can it again this year. Well, yeah, I am. Because there's other ways to use it. Like the reason I canned the bone broth in pint jars was because 1 pint of bone broth, if you're adding fresh carrots, fresh onions, fresh celery, fresh potatoes, they give off liquid, and that's a beautiful hearty soup. But I work with a lot of dehydrated vegetables. So 1 pint of bone broth to 1 quart of vegetable broth gives enough liquid to rehydrate the vegetables with their own juice. And it's really densely packed nutrition in a pot of soup. So use it for pasta. Well, speaking of pasta, I'm going to be making noodles this week at some point. Like I'm at the point now where I'm only doing 3 to 5 videos maximum a week on our half-acre homestead because I got a lot of stuff going on. And yes, I have baby chicks coming. As soon as I talk to Stephanie and find out when they're coming in so that I can have a bin ready for them, because there's a lot of things we want to do. But so I realized that I'm not going to can rutabagas this year. Why? Or grow rutabagas or parsnips. Why? Because I still have rutabagas and canned carrots from 2021 in the pantry, and parsnips and canned parsnips and rutabagas from 2022. So it's like I'm not wasting any garden space on that, but I am going to grow carrots just because I want to see if I can do it. I had to buy tomato juice last month for the first time in 4 years. It was upsetting. I bet. Hey, Ninja Clan Kathy, how are you, darling? Well, that's right, too. There's instant rice, right? And I also use it when I'm cooking rice. I'll use vegetable broth. Anything to bump up the nutrition. Like, part of me's like, yeah, don't make any more vegetable broth. And the other party says, don't waste that. Don't waste all that, vegetable matter that you use in broth, right? I took pumpkin butter that I canned to my mom and uncle yesterday. Oh, that's lovely. How did they like it? Hey, Luann Wilson, how are you, darling? So yeah, I'm fully prepared. Hey, Mary, how's Oklahoma today? I bet you it's a beautiful day. It's sunny here, but cold. Um, what was I talking about? So yeah, I'm really going to be planning out my garden this year. And I'm going to find more room somewhere for a couple of raised beds because I have to plant more. That's all there is to it. Got my porcupine balls in the Dutch oven for dinner. Yum. Now, Pam, porcupine balls are like meatballs with uncooked rice in them, right? And then you put a sauce over them. Stayed it out in the low 20s. Nice. Hey, Chaos, how are you, darling? How is Angie today? It's my grandmother's recipe, which is their mother. You know what? I believe I have that in Aunt Audrey's recipe box. I haven't even touched that this winter. I'm just, I'm just one person. I'm just one person. I actually, if for me to put out more content, I would need a crew. Now, it's just, and I can't afford a crew. Hey, Mama Cat, how are you, darling? So, yes, my dining room looks like, something from Starship Troopers or some kind of space station that's growing plants. You know what I mean? Let's light the sage and cleanse any negativity. Smoke the sacred light sage. Okay. It's the same as Mexican meatball soup, just added tomato that's crushed. I might have to try that. God knows I got rice, and it is a way of making the burger go farther, right? My husband made me 2 more raised beds, and I got a yard of triple mix. Oh, awesome, Black Rock. Old Black Water. Yeah, see, I don't know why I want to sing Old Black Water when your name is Black Rock. That's awesome. So I always have plans and they don't always get fulfilled, but I would like 2 loads of fill, clean fill. When I say clean fill, I don't mean just sand and gravel and stuff. I mean, I need a couple of loads of, like, it can be bricks or tree stumps or anything like that, going into the back because I'm bound and bent. And then I need 2 loads of topsoil and then a load of garden soil, and I'm ready to go. 2,000 square feet, Pam. Wow. I wouldn't do that with your body. Holy smokes, girl. I mean, I can remember the days when my garden was, let me see, 1,800, yeah, 1,800 square feet. Yeah, okay, I get that. Yeah, okay. So, but now it's raised beds. And now let me think about this. If you just go by the 21 beds in my backyard right now, let's do the math. 21, no, wait a minute, clear that. 3 by 4. Okay, is each bed is 12 square feet by 21. That's just the beds in my backyard are 250 square feet, right? Hey, Lisa from Texas, how are you, darling? It's going to be hard work, but worth it, right? It's going to be hard work, but worth it. I just wish I could grow potatoes. I just wish I could grow potatoes. But I don't know what it is in this neighborhood, but potato bugs just go nuts. We had an acre garden growing up for 7 people. Well, that's about what you'd need. That's about what you'd need. So I'm going to be sitting down soon. I have some wrapping paper. Ow! Let me just look here. I have some Christmas wrap. Now look at the back of this Christmas wrap. They have put cutting lines. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Here is my graph paper for my garden bed planner. Howie's found a garbage can. I might make that into a raised bed too. I might. The one that I was using for a composter last year just didn't work well. So what's going on with Willow's garden? What did I miss? Sure. What's the prayer request, darling? Is your favorite holiday Christmas? It used to be. It used to be. But I think I overdid it, and my kids were, inured to it. But I think, hi, Corey. Hey, FYI. Oh, Willow. My girlfriend's daughter tried to commit suicide. Oh, my God. Well, we will be praying for you and your daughter and her friends, family, and we include everybody. You don't have to hear me say it specifically to know that it will be included in the prayers. All you have to do is put it in the chat and it'll be included, right? Hey, Liz. That's really, really sad. These last few years have done a number on a lot of people. And for those who were struggling to begin with, it's been particularly grueling. So, hi, Denise. So, somebody mentioned recently if I was doing better, asked if I was doing better, that I seem to be down the last few weeks. It's been a particularly grueling 3 years. And I honestly, one of the things that got me through this winter was the anticipation of my grandchild being born and my grandchild being born and almost daily FaceTime with my grandbaby. Because I suffer depression. Okay. And even though I am medicated for it, it doesn't mean you don't get depressed. It just means when you do get depressed, it's more of a normal depression than it would be if I was unmedicated. And in all honesty, my medication actually, hey, Catsy, my medication is actually for depression when I'm actually very close to bipolar, but has been managed by depression meds for the last 30 years. So it's been a particularly hard winter. Why? Because it's been the third winter of the last winter of 3 really hard years. Now, here's the good news, folks. I have a couple friends in the hospital with respiratory. One was diagnosed with rhino. What's that? It's such a toxic environment for the young now. I couldn't even imagine life was hard when life was normal. Yeah, I know. I know. Our youth are in a meat grinder right now of social mixed messages, social mixed rules. They haven't gone in the point to be inclusive for everybody, everything. People are losing their identity. They don't have kids don't have a sure footing on what is expected of them. Instead of just being kids, which is hard enough, there's so much social. I mean, thank God there was no social media when I was a teenager. I don't know if I'd have survived. Right? So rhino is like COVID. Okay. Hey, Julie. Hi, Tina LaBelle. That's right. Living by example, leading and living by example are really, really important. That's why I save you from the worst of my depression, but not all of it, right? Because it's really like I've had people say, oh, blah, 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 blah. No, I'm an ordinary, everyday person who gets tired and forgets to crop out the backs of her ugly legs when she bends over in a video. I battle depression. I battle seasonal affective disorder. And yes, I take my vitamin D3 every morning and my calcium, magnesium, and zinc at night. She's dying already. She has cirrhosis of the liver. She was not a drinker or did drugs. She is to the point the ammonia is going straight to her brain and she's forgetting everything. She was not a drinker or did drugs. I don't understand what I just heard there. Who is this? The girl that the lady that killed herself? You know what, Tina LaBelle? Nobody's perfect, right? And the last thing I ever wanted to be was some studio show. I'm not. I am me. And that comes with warts and ugly legs and the occasional F-bomb and mistakes. I never claim to be perfect, and I never claim to be something I'm not, right? But it's taken me 50 some years to get to this point. Yeah, I know, Joe. I know it's been a rough, and I sent you an email, honey. It's been a rough few years for a lot of people who have just been trying to live normally, let alone dealing with sick relatives, people who are depressed, social anxiety elevated. I mean, we're being battered by fear constantly. Battered by fear constantly. Advertising has gone from basically telling you the truth about a product and letting you make up your mind about it, highlighting all the good stuff, to using fear to sell products now. You give me any commercial that I'm aware of, which I don't watch, and I'll tell you how they're selling that product with fear. And that started probably around 2015. I mean, if, God help you, if you weren't an adult by 2015. Hey, Barbara M., daydream believer and a homecoming queen. It's time of polycrisis. Yes, Angie Mack. Very well said. Poly meaning multiple, I take it, right? And yes, we can lead by example. And sometimes things, it's like the parable where the farmer goes casting seed as he goes, as he's casting seed. And some seed falls on fertile soil, and some seed falls on rock and withers in the sun and dies. But you never really know what seed is going to catch. For instance, you'll see in tomorrow's Our Half Acre Homestead video, I had all these little shot cups. I use them for measuring when I got really anal and started putting all my spices out in little cups so you could see exactly, and I just tell you the measurements. I don't have that kind of patience anymore. I'm getting too old. But I had transplanted all the celery plants into little peat cups, right? And I had a bunch left over, so I used all these little plastic shot cups. And the soil that I had transplanted the celery from, I used that soil to fill up the other little cups and plant celery. Well, some of them little cups got 10 bloody plants in them. Why? Because I stirred up the soil, planted one with the original soil, and seeds started taking off. You never know when a seed of wisdom is dropped by a loved one or a friend or yourself. You never know. You don't know who's listening. You don't know. Hi, Claire. You don't know who's paying attention. I think it was Friends, the show Friends once, where they all got stuck out on a balcony on New Year's Eve. And the door was locked or something. And they had a horrible time. But what they didn't know, correct me if I'm wrong, if you've seen this one, what they didn't know is that there were people in the building opposite who all had these different ideas of why these people were out on the balcony. One was that they did not want to miss New Year's Eve so bad that they were just going to stay there and see the old year out. And it was they were inspiring people, and all of these things were going on, and all they had accidentally done was lock the door behind them when they got out on the balcony. So you don't know who your actions and your thoughts and your feelings are going to inspire, right? So, because you never know who's watching. I used to say, thank you very much needed distractions. I don't often comment, but I'm often here appreciating you all. Well, that's wonderful, Daydream Believer, and I'm glad. It's not okay to be tough. I never want to become numb to the human struggle, but I know I'm human. Listen, I miss most of that conversation. But what I am going to say is there are times we have to be strong. But there are times when we also have to melt to the floor in a puddle of useless goo and relax and say, I can't deal right now. The trick is knowing when to be tough and when to let go, right? I saw this beautiful video on, I don't know what I saw it on, but I posted it on Facebook in the Connected Hearts. Oh, you're not bringing the group down, darling. I just needed to talk to someone. I was so upset over this situation. I feel like you can't help. Honey, just asking for help is helping. Just asking for us to pray for them, that's helping. Everything, every wonderful, loving intention is helping. And that's why we're also here, right? That's why we're here. So I don't know what I was saying. I really don't know what I was saying. Hey, International Cat, you and I are a lot alike, Bev. I have manic depression and it can be so difficult some days. Your words have helped me so much. Well, that's because you've helped me. It does no good. It's like knowing when to be tough and knowing when to let go and let somebody else be tough for you. Okay? I watched this video. I saw this little video. And what it was a platform that had little hillocks but it wasn't completely flat. And it was rotating. Hi, Waldo. Now this platform was rotating. And this was an artistic demonstration of timing and life and destiny and love. And there's this man and woman both on this rotating platform, right? This platform's rotating and they're both on it. And once he turns around and she ends up rotating toward, and he's walking and he rotates towards her, and they look at each other and go, no, I'm not interested. And then they walk away, and then things get different. And then all of a sudden they come back to being face to face again. And then they're rotating together. They're spinning together. And as they spin, they start to, their body language, I'm getting chills just talking about this. Their body language was, can I trust you? Yes. And as they're getting closer and closer, and by the end, she's like this off the platform, and he's like this, and they've slowly come together, and they're spinning together in the same direction. And I got so emotional. Hey, Pam. Well, yes, you are, and patron, and I'm here for the love of this community generates. Well, thank you. We get pissed off too. That's called being human. But this video showed that sooner or later, everything, if it made me think of me and Howie. How we met on a dance floor when he was 15 and I was 18 or 19. And I laughed, and he was drunk, and I laughed. When he asked me to dance, it was dim and dark. So I said, sure. I got up on the dance floor, and then he's like, hey, you want to come to a party after? And I'm going, oh, honey. And he said, seriously, come on, we'll have a great time. I said, call me in 8 years. Come back in 8 years, right? And when he came back in 8 years, I didn't even know who he was until we'd been together for almost a year. And his mom gave me a photo album of him growing up. And I saw a picture of him at 15 and went, it's him. It's the kid. It's the drunk kid, right? And all the struggles, all the people who just shook their heads and said we'd never make it, all the people who went, oh, he's just a drunk, all the people who said the chances of meeting someone when you're a single mom, like meeting someone of any lasting relationship when you're a single mom is 40%, is 20, no. Meeting someone and having a lifelong lasting relationship is a 50-50 shot. Meeting someone and having a lifelong relationship when you're a single parent is like 25%. Now add the fact that we're both addictive personalities and how he was a practicing alcoholic when we met. I was still keeping it under control. That goes down to like 1% of success. But on July 4th, this year, we will have been together for 33 years. July 31st this year is our 30th wedding anniversary. So if we had listened instead, and if I had listened to every person that had said, walk away, save yourself, if Howie had listened to every person who said, uh, she doesn't love you, she doesn't support you, she just left you, she ran away, right? If we had listened to everybody else's opinion and stopped paying attention to the body language and the core of love and that dance of years, the first 12 years, I didn't even believe he loved me. 12 years it took him to convince me that he loved me, that I could believe, that I could trust his love. So to watch this dance of people going through and missing each other and meeting each other and going no, and then going on with life and searching and all of these things, only to find each other again and then go through the dance of becoming one. And it's trust and it's love and it's you listen to your heart, not those who think they know better, right? But do listen to those folks when they say someone says, hey, you're in a dangerous situation. Be open. All of these things, every decision you make in your life, every decision, every choice, left turn, right turn, yes, no, should I, shouldn't I, every decision you have ever made has led you to where you are, led me to where I am, led us to where we are right now. And I would not change a step. Yes, I could have treated my body better if I had known earlier about marijuana over going through painkiller after painkiller after painkiller and bodily reactions. If I had known then what I know now, I probably would have given up alcohol and taken up marijuana a lot sooner. But every decision that I had would have chose to change would have chose where I was right now. So good, bad, ugly, bruising, treacherous trips through this relationship, I wouldn't change a thing because here I am. My husband, my husband of almost 33 years, because on July 4th, 1990, we had a handfast wedding, which is not legal, but that's right. That's right. But you do have to listen, right? I'm not saying, like, for instance, I loved people before Howard, and I got burnt time and time again. I would put my heart and my life into this relationship and essentially bring that person back up to, help them get their self-esteem back up, only to be left for them to go to an ex-girlfriend once they healed. So when Howie came along, 3 years younger than me and a drunk, took me 12 years to realize he wasn't going anywhere. Period, full stop. And by the time I admitted it, we were, what year was that? We were like 5 years sober. By the time I finally gave in and said, okay, fine, you got me. You want me, you got me. Now you don't get to leave. You ever leave, I'll hunt you down. That's because I was so insecure. I could not love myself. So how could anybody else in my mind love me? Right? You've all heard this story before. That's the whole point about self-love. Self-love needs to be selfish. You need to love yourself exactly for who you are. Love yourself not enough to not accept unacceptable behavior. Love yourself enough. Now I got a lot of learning to do about loving myself. I'm still, that's a journey that never ends. But once you recognize what it takes to love yourself and you accept that, and you don't try and be something different for somebody else in order to receive that love, once you have the dignity of self-love, then you can let other people in. Then you can love people more deeply. Then you can allow their love to enrich your life. But if you don't see your own self-worth in self-love, then you're not going to recognize it in anybody else either when it's coming at you. Hey, Andrew, let go and let God. Absolutely clear. I'm learning to love myself more every day, and it feels good. Absolutely. I'm explaining this to my husband now, and he's like, thanks, I think. Well, I'll tell you, we've had this discussion before. Well, I think it was called The Notebook, wasn't it? Not quite. No, we're not there. I said to Howie last night, we were sitting, we had a quiet day yesterday. We got some of our work done, but we sat down and had dinner, which we're going to do soon, and watched, we're almost at the end of season 14 of Supernatural, and there is not going to be any season 16. So we've almost put this puppy to bed. But we were watching Supernatural last night, and Howie was explaining something about something. I can't remember what it was. But he said, what's the word I'm looking for? And I went, and I gave him the word. And he goes, right. I said, you do realize that the older we get, the more increasingly codependent we get. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, well, I lean on you for a lot more physical things now. And we both fill in the blanks in our vocabulary. When one of us forgets a word, we fill it in for each other. I said, God help us if one of us gets Alzheimer's. Because, we are more one than we ever were before. And it's really got nothing to do with romance or anything. It's got to do with the point we've gotten to in our lives where romance is my husband sending me a little thing, a little meme that says, it has a little penguin and it throws a big heart and goes like that, big heart at it, says, thinking of you. It's like, oh, that's romance. Yes, we go out and we have dinner and stuff like that, but more often than not, we enjoy, like tonight, we're having steak and smashed potatoes and broccoli parmesan. So I've smashed the potatoes. I'm not making a video. You've already seen it. I've smashed the potatoes onto a foil-lined cookie sheet with olive oil. And then I put frozen broccoli on top, and then I put onion powder and garlic powder and salt and Parmesan all on top. And I'm going to sear the steaks, and I'm going to throw them right in the oven with the maple trees are not flowing today, Linda Bob, with the steaks. The maple trees are not flowing today. It's too cold. They stopped flowing today. So Howie's probably going to have to go out before, in the morning or when he gets home and go around and tap each one with a hammer to make sure they're shit on a shingle. Hi, Lacey Black. Me and my husband have our own separate roles and duties. We didn't dictate that. It's just what we do. That's true, right? It takes a long time for you to become one, because you start breaking off parts of your life that you don't use anymore because they fill that part. And you end up going from two people to being like this, like a jigsaw puzzle that's been two jigsaw puzzles where you take out a whole bunch of pieces so that you can put them all back together to make one. Right? That's what marriage does, and it does not happen overnight. If you're lucky, the first 15 years are the hardest. At least mine were. When people say, getting divorced, I've had 6 years of this. It's like, oh man, you haven't put in the time. Unless, of course, they're physically or mentally or emotionally abusive. Like if they're mentally and emotionally abusive, you get counseling. You try anything, right? If they're physically abusive, it's you get counseling, you go to I beat my husband or I beat my wife classes, or we're done. There are some lines you just don't put up with. You don't put up with abuse. You either set that train right back on the proper rails, or you go to a different station. You feel me? Corned beef with cabbage, potatoes, and carrots. Yum. Didn't lay out the corned beef to thaw for Friday, so we're having it today. Well, there you go. Hey, Jane Wilson. Hi, darling. You know what? Howie watched not a whole thing, but it was a video on St. Patrick's Day. And it's not what we think it is. When they say St. Patrick's came, or Patrick, the priest came and he cleaned the island of snakes. Well, A, there was no snakes in Ireland. B, it was, if you look at it, it was ethnic cleansing. It was like the Crusades, sending Catholics out to cleanse. And the snakes were the pagans, were the people who were the last of the real Druids, were being cleansed by Christianity. So it's like, it's got nothing to do with being Irish and everything to do with being wiped off the face of the earth. I'd say the last 20 years were the hardest, and after that, it was easy. The first, 12 years were the hardest. We spent the first, 7 years struggling and having kids and buying homes and then getting sober. And that was, that was a journey that when two people are alcoholics and they meet drunk, marry drunk, and sober up together, chances are 99.9% of the time, that relationship never survives them sobering up. Howie and I were just really, really lucky that the love that brought us together in the first place was already there. The alcohol couldn't destroy it, and nor could the sobering up process. We were already in love, alcoholism or not. We're a bloody miracle. Hey, Waldo, hang on a second. Are you leaving, Claire? Only relationship ever had. He moved out and left me for a younger, thinner man. His loss. Oh, baby. Well, take care, Claire. Mwah. All I can say is it wasn't meant to be, was it? He wasn't. It doesn't mean, I gave my heart a lot of times. But you can reclaim your heart after it's been abused. You can. It's not an easy trip. That's maybe why it took me 12 years instead of 5 to recognize the fact that my husband actually loves me. And then the following 8 years, I spent poking at him to make sure he wasn't lying. Oh, you still love me now? Still love me now? Still love me now? Right? The poor bugger We were 20 years together before I finally went, oh, this actually might last. Right? Hey, Kim. Yes, you're on the correct chat. I'm only on one channel. I'm on Life with the Wolfies. You're seeing this from Life with the Wolfies. I realize that streaming simultaneously from two channels is actually quite difficult for everybody. So I just give the link to our half acre homestead in the community chat, in the community page, and hope everybody gets here, right? Did you see my messages? What messages? No cigarettes, 5 years now. Good for you, Angie. I haven't had a cigarette. I like to say I quit in 2003, but I backslid when I had a car accident in 2012. So I haven't had a cigarette since 2012. And I haven't had alcohol, like drinking alcohol, since 25 years. It'll be 26 years in June. And you know what? I don't miss it. I do not miss it. Every once in a while, if I'm showing signs of depression or addictive behavior, I will have a nightmare that I was sitting having a beer, or and someone saying, "Are you supposed to have that?" It's like, yeah, I can have a beer now and again. And I wake up in a cold sweat, going, "Did I actually drink? Did I drink?" So those dreams tell me that something in my behavior is not true to self-love, that I'm doing something. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I've put on 20 pounds this winter. So, well, not quite 20 pounds, 17 pounds this winter. And so I had a drinking dream. And the drinking dream is, Bev, what are you doing to yourself? Right? Yeah, those are the worst dreams. I know. This is weird. I don't see anything but my own texts. Isn't that funny, Kim? Oh, maybe you're on top chat instead of live chat. Try live chat, sweetheart. I go at the top and click it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is life is a progress towards perfection. We'll never be perfect. Why? Because there's only one perfect being, and that's the Creator. Right? But we can progress towards that because we are of the Creator. You understand? You know, life and the afterlife and the before life and the multiple life is all about progressing towards improvement, progressing towards improving constantly, progressing towards perfection that we will never attain. But that's the journey, isn't it? You don't have live chat? How is that? Can that be? Hey, Doris! Try going out of the chat and then coming back in for live chat. That happens to me sometimes. Thank you, Doris. I'm on a news blackout for a week. Just started today. What do you mean? Oh, I don't watch the news. I don't watch the news. Every once in a while, I'll hear Howie watching something on his phone, and I'll say, what's that? And I'll hear it, and I'll say, send that to me. Because I've spent the money to download these clips of real people talking about their feelings, real people talking about what's going on in the world, right? And like, for instance, I did a video, on Rumble saying, make this make sense for me. And somebody came back saying, oh, you're still spouting the same crap, different day, nothing new here. And then they deleted their comment. But the thing is they can delete their comment, but their name is still there. So I answered them. I said, well, yes, I have been talking about this for a long time. Yes, this is just stuff coming out on Rumble. but it's nice to know somebody's listening, right? So the news is just depressing and ruins my days. That's because it's not real. It started with advertising and crept into mainstream media. We are being emotionally, socially, mentally, and spiritually battered by fear from every front. Social media, mainstream media. I have never seen anything that's tried to make people inclusive divide so many people, right? All this inclusive behavior is not bringing people together. It's dividing. This, they did more with this pandemic and how they handled it to divide families, to divide people from their religions and their beliefs, to divide people from each other, to divide people from their holidays and their traditions. They've done more in the last 3 years, and you'll wonder why, people are dancing in the streets wearing thongs with big phallic symbols on them and vaginas on their heads and things, and they're calling that inclusivity, I think they call it. And I don't see it. But I'm not allowed to say that, you see, because I'm an elderly, white, heterosexual woman. And that makes me a racist, apparently. Right? If you can find it, find the interview. I think it was on 60 Minutes or something, and it was about Black History Month. And I've had to do some thinking on this, and I haven't discussed it with anybody. But he asked Morgan Freeman how he felt about Black History Month. And he said, I can't stand it. And he said, why? And he said, do you have a White History Month? It's not about Black heritage. It's just Black history, right? But you see, he said, no, I wouldn't want a White History Month. He said, and I'm Jewish. He said, would you want a Jewish History Month? Or would you want your race or your skin color singled out to the world as different? And he said, no. He said, then why would I? All they're doing is making it more obvious that we're different by celebrating the differences. So you can't have it both ways, right? You can't have it both ways. You can't have where everybody is supposed to be included, but everybody wants to be singled out as an individual. There is one race. I'm gonna risk a lot here. There is one race. It's called the human race. Okay? And there's two genders, male and female. Unless you're born a hermaphrodite, which is an exception rather than the rule. And if you were born with a uterus, you were a woman. And if you were born with penis and testicles, you're a man. Now, however you want to look at yourself, however you want to see yourself or identify yourself, that's your stuff. That's your right, but you can't tell me not to believe the things I understand. That women have uteruses and men have penises. Okay? If you have both, it's a flip of nature. Nothing else. You want to be a man? Great. You live your life as a man. That's your right. But if I've known you your whole life as a woman and you want to be called he, I will have a problem with that. Or if you're non-binary and say, I'm a they, them, well, I'm sorry, I have a problem with that. Right? You see, if I have 3 personalities, let's just say, okay? Let's just say I'm schizophrenic. And there's Bev and Boo Boo and Bobby Joe. Let's just say that. And they're all, Bobby Joe's a guy. And Boo Boo's a 12-year-old or an 8-year-old child, and Bev is Bev. What you see is what you get. Then I would have a mental illness, wouldn't I? Well, they call that a mental illness. I don't necessarily agree with that. Okay? But if you identify as an animal, that's okay. You can be that animal. It's not a mental illness. I don't understand. Yeah, well, see, this is just, I'm risking a lot by saying these things. I have no problem with people who you love whoever you want. It's none of my business unless you're a pedophile or you're abusive. But 2 loving, consenting adults, I don't give a fiddler's fart what you identify as or what your gender is. What matters to me is love. Consenting adults. But if you identify as a cat, don't expect me to hiss back or understand what you're saying when you hiss at me. Legal and consensual. Thank you, Lacey Black. So it's not, I don't see that it's okay to confuse children. I don't think it's okay that the school system has more rights about what they show my children than I would if I had children right now. So, and you want me to accept all of this, and I'm having trouble with it. How's a kid going into kindergarten? Right? Yes, it's a Rumble topic. So don't worry if I download this and you see pieces of this video coming up on Rumble, because I don't get it at all. A few of my granddaughter's friends identify as the opposite, and some are just N. Thing is, you be who you want to be. But don't put a horn on your forehead and ask me to call you a unicorn. Just saying, right? Hey, Sheila Clacken, how are you, darling? Now are you a native of Ireland, Sheila? I honestly think they should have to be at least 18 before any transition is allowed. 21 would be better. Totally 21. Totally 21. And let's put it this way, okay? I was in my 30s before I understood that just because I was interfered with as a child, and that confused me throughout my life, doesn't mean I didn't finally get to the point where, yeah, I know who I am today. I am a white heterosexual female, and my skin color really has a tendency to change depending on the weather and how I'm feeling. Okay, so spirit animal a bit too far. Exactly, Waldo. Yeah, age restrictions on everything else. Hell, you got to have ID to buy cigarettes in the stores here, right? You got to be at least what is it, 18, dear, to buy cigarettes? 18, 19. 18, 19 to drink, and depending on, So I guess what I'm saying is, if you can identify one thing, that's why I love that song. If I traded all, if I gave it all away for one thing, wouldn't that be something? That one thing is love. Real love. And so many people are mistaught how to identify love that, it's a crapshoot no matter how you slice it. Right? Who do this should be locked up. It's a mental disorder, not normal behavior. I don't necessarily think it's necessarily a mental disorder. I do, however, think that children should be encouraged to have an imagination and pretend. Who hasn't rode a stick horse on a broom and pretended you were riding a horse? Who hasn't pretended they were from another planet when they were a kid, or from the movies or whatever? Imagination's important. But children need to know the difference between healthy imagination and reality. You feel me? You have to have ID to buy school glue here. Really? Anyway, it's life. Life is a journey. And as parents, it's not up to us to give the raising of our children to the government and the social structures of society, clubs, religions, schools. It's up to us to teach sex education to our children. It is up to us to instill in them the idea that there is a higher power to turn to in times of trouble. It is up to us to teach children right from wrong, and it's also up to us to teach them the difference between imagination and what they are and who they want to be. Imagination, reality, who you are, who you want to be. And there's that very powerful word, want. There's a big difference between want and need. Kids need direction, focus. They need to feel safe. They need nutrition, and they need a roof over their head and stable parents. They don't need this shit that's going on. And that's the way I see it. Squirrel! Yeah, I know. I mean, my spirit guide animal is the wolf. My spirit totem, okay? My spirit totem, the one that looks after me, is the wolf. My spirit animal is the bear. Have you not figured that out by the way I kind of try and hibernate all winter long? But the truth is, I identify those animals in my spirit, but I don't go around wearing fur coats and raiding people's pear trees. You know what I mean? My dog identifies as a person too. And that's because that's what we've taught her. Right? No such thing as bad dogs, only bad owners. Well, there's no such thing as misguided children, except the parents misguiding them or allowing somebody else to misguide them. Oh, I love my grinder. And I'm not using it. You know that, eh? I'm not using it. I just love it. To me, it's more of, if I could put it on a chain, like a pocket watch, I just love that. So anyway, we've been here for over an hour and I've got to go make supper, which is tonight is steak and small steaks and smashed potatoes and broccoli parmesan. So I better, yeah, right? I know the difference between, having a spirit guide animal and being an animal. I am not an animal. And neither are you. And neither are our children. It's sad and frightening and scary how many hundreds of years of therapy these kids are going to accrue as they get older. Why didn't you protect me? I was just a kid. I didn't know any better. Going to hear that a lot. Anyway, it's time for us to go. I'm going to say a prayer. Now, if you don't want to stay, that's okay. There will be no judgment. Mwah. Take care. God bless. But for the rest of us that like to have a bit of spiritual nourishment, we're going to reach out across the world to Ireland and Yorkshire and Australia and Africa, everywhere everybody's from, United States and Canada. And we're going to reach out our hands and our hearts and we're going to link up. And we're going to drop the walls and the rules that religion has slammed between us. And we're going to meet somewhere in the middle with the divine light of God's love. Period. Full stop. If I'm going to connect to my faith, you're going to connect to yours. And together, we're going to walk in the shining light of God's love, shedding his light for everybody as we go. Right? So, for all those who care to, let's do some deep breathing, cleansing. Hey, God, creator and source of everything. How's it going? Thank you, God, for bringing us all here today. And thank you for the courage you gave me to go forward and speak about the things that nobody wants to talk about anymore for fear of being judged. Thank you, God, for bringing our friends together so that we can share our light and our love and our honesty and our ideas. And there's folks out there, God, that we know are struggling with illness in their families, death, fear, wars, revolutions, misinformation by mainstream media and social media. It's chaos, God. It's chaos, and we know it, but we're not going to allow it to distract us, are we? So, God, for all the people that are having a hard time finding their center and focusing on your love, we lift those people up to you, God, so that through the chaos and the clouds and the misinformation, these people are lifted up into the light of your love, so that your love can shine down on them and carry them through another day, every day, one foot in front of the other. Because we know, God, yes, there is darkness and there is chaos, but when we are lit from within with your love, that light gets shared and spread, and it divides the darkness that's dividing us. Thank you, God, for bringing us together, for the love and the light and the honesty and the laughter and the joy. and our ability to share our love with those folks out there who need it the most. Thank you, God. Amen. Namaste. Shalom. Peace be with you. Merry meet, merry part, blessed be. Peace be with you. Walk in the shining light of God's love, whatever language you use. Thank you for staying and sharing my talk with God. All right? I love you guys. Take care. God bless. We'll see you Thursday evening, probably around 8 o'clock, 8:30. All right? I love you. Mwah. Bye-bye, guys.